Hello everyone, again this is my second video of medevac missions while in Afghanistan from 2010-2011. I believe I stated in the first video that we were based primarily out of FOB Shank, and we had to split our team up and also cover FOB Ghazni, which was a Polish controlled base. I forget, maybe a 30-minute flight away from FOB Shank in the Ghazni province. So it was October 2nd, 2010. While flying in Ghazni, basically the 101st Airborne at the time was covering the medevac there, so we had to go and basically get a handoff from them and take that mission completely over, because they were getting ready to head home. So we did left seat, right seat rides with them. What that means is our pilot and commands would fly in the right seat with their pilot and commands in the left seat. So they were the aircraft commander, and basically they were giving us a local area checkout, showing us all the ins and outs of the area, the GPS approaches, the training areas where it was safe to train and land without fear of getting blasted. So being down there, we were limited to some of our supplies, and we had to get resupplied with either medical gear or whatever. And we had plenty of food and all that stuff was there, but as far as medical supplies, so we had to go back to Shank every week or two and also swap people out, because we wouldn't keep the same people on that rotation, which I would have preferred, because myself and many others that went to Ghazni loved it down there. It was just a better place as far as no bureaucracy. You didn't have sergeant majors running around yelling at you because you didn't have a reflective belt on or your safety glasses, which it gets pretty miserable when you're in basically wartime and you got some guy telling you that junk. But anyway, as I said before, it was October 2nd, 2010. We were set to go back in the morning to get resupply, and we took off. It was a clear day and bright and sunny, and it was getting a little cool because October. And started headed back. I was a lead aircraft. I was in the left seat with the 101st pilot in the right seat. And I remember we crossed over a small ridge line, and just at that point, our radio broke squelch, which meant that we could hear somebody trying to call us, but we were too far away and we couldn't understand the transmission. So that was our medevac operations back at Ghazni, the radio that we had tuned up to them. So in fear of them trying to call us for a mission, a medevac mission, we stopped and basically we turned around, and we were going to try to go get a radio connection with them and find out what was going on. So I told the other aircraft, hey, we're going to go back, see what's going on. The pilot with me just told him to turn to the right, and just as we come out of that turn, we were headed back to the same ridge line that we just crossed. And there, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a puff of smoke, puff of white gray smoke, and immediately, instead of telling the other guy what to do, I took the controls, told him over the intercom I'm taking the controls, went into a negative dive to the right, and then proceeded to pull power back in and come back to the left, just kind of janking around to prevent something from hitting us. I know I was taught back when I was a Marine as a crew chief and a gunner on CH-53s, and same in the Army, that typically when you see a smoke trail, that is an indication of a surface-to-air missile, which is a very butt-puckering event for that to happen. So, I mean, just as I'm coming back out of my left turn, I look over the shoulder and I see the smoke trail that was just continuing straight up into the sky with no effect on either aircraft, thankfully. And then we continued on, and then we seen the Joe that just shot at us, standing on the ridgeline. Due to the fact that we had a red cross on our aircraft, they know we don't have defensive weapons, so they're pretty bold. to just take shots at us in the middle of the day, bright sun and light. But at that time, we weren't shooting back or aware that we actually could shoot back, which I'll get in that more later on. But it would have been nice to pop this guy so he didn't try doing it again. But anyway, we headed back towards Ghazni and got the radio back up. We called, and of course it was for nothing. They were just calling us to make sure that we brought whatever such and such back. Which sounds like, yeah, seriously. But anyway, we headed back to Shank. We landed, sat down there, and then whenever we got shot at, we were supposed to go to the Tactical Operations Center and speak to the intel officer and debrief them of what we saw and what we heard and whatever else, so they could identify the weapon system and possibly, pass on to others, avoid this area, or actually send crews in to get rid of that threat. So I did that and got to talking to him, described what the event was and what the weapon looked like on his shoulder, and determined it was an SA-7 Grail, which is basically the Russian equivalent of a Stinger missile, surface to air. But they had intel at the time that they did have these weapon systems, but luckily they didn't have the batteries to operate the guidance system. So basically it was an overpriced, glorified RPG. So he was just using it as a rocket, and a very poor shot as well, thankfully. He forgot his glasses back at the goat farm, I guess. But anyway, so I gave him that information, and we continued on. But that was the first time being shot at in country, and it hadn't even been a month yet, and this was already happening. So it was a very eye-opening event that this is what's going to happen for the next 11 and a half months, and it got pretty exciting at times, and I have plenty more stories to tell you about that. But hopefully you enjoyed this, and please subscribe, like the video. Trying to get as many views as I can and as many subscribers as possible, so these videos get out further to everyone and more distribution. So, all right, please leave questions and comments in the comment section, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right, take care.